Have you ever seen a 4K webcam? Well, you're looking at one right now. This is 4K at 25 FPS, recorded from the Logitech Brio webcam. It released a couple years ago. I did quite a few videos on it back in the day, and it's had a lot of issues. It seems to be behaving today, but in a video I posted just yesterday, the color on it was all over the place. Today, it's still a little weird, but it seems to be behaving. This isn't the only 4K webcam on the market anymore. I mean, excluding Sub 2R, which is in a totally different price bracket. Ideally, for a similar price bracket, we now have another camera. This is the AVerMedia PW510. This is the 4K webcam that you can't currently buy. Owned is a place you can go to get on-stream graphics, alerts, social media banners, things like that to really amplify your stream, make it a lot more polished, help yourself stand out from the crowd, and they're all a little bit customizable to some degree, so you can get exactly what you want, and they even have a cool little visualizer where you can see the alerts and the overlays happen real time to make your decision a little bit better. Head over to eposvox.gg/OWN3D. They always have sales running, so you can save a coin to get the package that you so desire, because they have some really cool stuff and I highly recommend them. I've been using this webcam for a couple weeks. They sent it out for me to experiment with, to get some feedback. Originally I wasn't supposed to talk to it, but I guess someone else jumped the shark, so now I have the ability to talk about it. So this is an AVerMedia webcam that they produced, but you can't actually purchase, at least at this point in time. It supports a lot of really cool specs. In fact, I have the full spec sheet up because it does some crazy stuff. You will notice we are at 25 FPS. That's because its 4K mode, unlike the Brio, only goes up to 25 FPS, which is a little disappointing. We'll talk about that in a minute. It can do 1080p and 720p and whatever up to 60 FPS, and it is a rock solid 60 FPS. I actually included samples of that back in my video on the Logitech Stream Cam, which was just released. Go check that out if you missed it. Lots of good 1080p 60 samples. This is at 4K 25 FPS, but it supports 1080p 60, 1080p 30. It supports a USB 2.0. So currently it's operating on USB 3.0, and we're going to talk about the connections in a moment, but it supports USB 2.0 if you want to drop to 1080p 30 or lower. That's pretty bonkers. It has a privacy shutter built right in. It has a tripod mount built right in. It has a lens that's at f2.8. It has some backlight compensation. It does some really cool stuff, and it's really freaking sharp and clear for a webcam. And the manual settings for it are super intuitive. Instead of balancing your exposure with your gain and worrying about whether your frame rate's going to get all ghosty or dropping, you just have a brightness slider that adjusts exposure and everything for you, and it goes really smoothly. And I basically never have issues with blowing out my skin in this webcam. It is pretty bonkers. Physically, it is a tank. It is basically the size of like a tennis ball. It's pretty large. It's a big beefy boy, but it's got a fully built monitor mount that actually works really well to reposition exactly how you need or you want. I love it. It does take up a lot of space, but I absolutely love it. And it does have a 1/4-20 tripod mount on the bottom. On the back, you have a USB Type-C port, which can be used for 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C for 4K or 1080p 60. It also has a power plug, because you can use it in a USB 2.0 port, which won't provide enough power for it, but will let you get 1080p 30 or lower out of it, which is crazy. That backwards compatibility kind of thing doesn't usually exist in webcams, and pretty cool to see. It's got a Kensington lock. It's got a reset button. It's it's pretty awesome. And as you can see here, the image clarity is here. Now, I am making this video at 30 FPS because I'm actually going to change the mode on this webcam real quick. Now, I have switched the webcam to 30 FPS, and you may not actually notice a quality difference, and that's because this webcam supports 30 FPS at 3264 by 1836, which is just ever so slightly a resolution below 4K. But if you're making videos at 4K or you're streaming at 1080p, you still have a lot of resolution to work with. And that's the advantage of a proper 4K webcam in a live stream, is if you want to do punch-ins or zoom-ins. That's really a common thing these days. You have a Stream Deck button equipped where you just punch into the webcam, you get a nice field of view, or cropped in field of view, and then punch back out to show your full scene, or you have different scenes that are cropped in different ways. This extra resolution makes quite a bit of difference. Now, compared again to the Brio here, which runs at 4K 30 natively, you may notice a little bit extra sharpness or detail preserved when you're doing the punch-ins. I'll have two punch-ins here side by side for comparison. but the difference should be fairly negligible, and the cleanliness of the overall image on the PW510 is probably worth it. Now, you may notice also jumping back and forth between the Brio shows a lot more in the shadows than the PW510 does. The Brio is also just generally brighter. Again, this is on auto. I can tweak this just a little bit here, but keep in mind every time I mess with manual settings, things go very wrong. There we go. Just setting a manual exposure. We have mostly matched exposures now. The Brio looks pretty good at 4K if you have it set right, but it's still a webcam, and as is the AVerMedia webcam is also still just a webcam. Ultimately, you have issues with it being a smaller sensor, although from what I can tell, the AVerMedia camera is a bigger sensor. It is a Exmor 4K CMOS sensor, which from what I can tell is a little bit bigger than the Brios. At least the glass in front of it is bigger, if nothing else. So you have a wider field of view. This is 94 degrees versus 90 being the cap on the Brio. You have a little bit better depth of field. The focus does seem to be a little bit better. Like, I feel like detail is preserved a lot more. Overall, it's pretty great. Now, why am I comparing this versus the Brio and not the Logitech StreamCam, which I have over here? Well, that's because this camera is a 4K webcam and a 1080p60 webcam that works this way, and the Brio is Logitech's only other option. The StreamCam is only a 1080p60 webcam. This is a different class of camera, and in terms of value and price comparison, the Brio makes a lot more sense. So in terms of price, I don't have one for this webcam because, again, it's not available for purchase. They don't actually sell this webcam at this point in time. I remember it was actually a year to a year and a half ago, I was sending review requests when someone discovered the product page for it, and they refused to send me one, and I was really confused why. They were like, yeah, we don't have this in your market. Just like, okay. Turns out it just isn't for sale, and they're kind of interested in some feedback as to whether or not they would actually sell it, so you guys can let me know. I think it would be really cool to see on the market. I complained in my StreamCam review that Logitech has been a sleeping giant, that they are not offering any kind of innovation to the webcam market, and they need competition to step it up, especially for streamers. What better than a streaming company to make that happen? I have been pushing both Elgato and AVerMedia for years to make a streamer's webcam, and I've been trying to get them to take my input on it to make it happen. I will do whatever it takes to get my, hands in it and make it work. This webcam's almost there, and if they can make it price competitive enough to the Brio and or the StreamCam, which to me would be about $200, if it was worth it value-wise, you could really make it sell that way, I think it's worth it. So here it is. As far as tweaks go, I feel like there could be some tweaks made to the formats that it supports. Again, 4K 25 FPS, let's bump that up to 30. 60 FPS at some slightly higher quality modes would be pretty cool. There is no 2560 by 1440 mode because that's not normally a video format, but if you could implement that in the driver somehow just as a native option, and maybe even at 60 FPS, that would make a lot of 1440p streamers have an easier time with their canvas settings and things like that. Would be pretty cool. And overall, I think just a really cool UI tool within their RE Central software to really, make the settings as clear as possible for newbie streamers. This would be a killer offering. And overall, like I said, it is way more rock solid and steady in terms of frame rate and performance than the Logitech cameras, even compared to the Brio. Kicking over to manual settings, like there's still some things to be desired here that are just way smoother on this camera. And even adjusting those settings, I don't have the issue of when I flick a setting, suddenly it goes way further in the opposite direction, or I tweak white balance and suddenly everything goes blue, or I reboot my computer and all the settings are gone. As far as I can tell, between reboots, my settings have persisted with this camera. That doesn't happen with the Logitech cameras. It's mind-boggling. This wasn't a problem on Windows 7. They have yet to really fix this. AVerMedia's just works. So there's a lot to be said here for this camera that I think it could offer compared to Logitech's offerings, and I really want to see it compete. I really want to see it do well. It's still a webcam. You're still not going to get super blown out depth of field like with something like my A7S II. It's not going to be as sharp as something like my A7S II, as you may have seen in my StreamCam comparison, but it blows anything Logitech has to offer out of the water, at least competing strongly with the Brio. I find the Brio's performance to be significantly better. I just got blurry video and just undesirable video out of the StreamCam. The Brio performs better. This camera performs even better. And the fact that they don't have the regressions that the StreamCam has. This is Logitech StreamCam. Look at this attached cable. What is this nonsense? PW510 has a detachable cable. Has a power option so you can use it with USB 2. You can use longer cables. None of this nonsense. It's just better. I really hope they sell it. I really do. I want to see some competition in the space. If they want more feedback, I want an EposVox Stream Professor Edition webcam. I would like to see it happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this a webcam you would use? What do you think the price of it should be? What extra features would you like to see? On their other cheaper webcam, which I've still yet to review, I think it's the 310 instead of the 510. It's a 1080p camera. It's all right. They have some cool like face tracking features where you can get face masks and things like that in RE Central. If they could implement that here as well, that would actually, kind of fix some of the lack of innovation. That would just be extra features, extra icing on the cake, if you will, that I would like to see. I will have a whole video talking about the best settings you need for your webcam, because there's a lot of stuff people overlook, coming soon. Be sure you're subscribed for that. Go check us out on Floatplane, where you can get early access to videos and behind the scenes content. Go check out my second channel, where I released a big, awesome, ultra wide 8K Halo Combat Evolved and Combat Evolved Anniversary video essay, where I was talking about my experiences with Halo CE on PC throughout my life and how it changed my life. Really great video. I'm super proud of it. Go check that out. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you later.